Welcome back, Internet, to Jeremy Reads Aloud Self-Help Books. I hope you had a good weekend so far. It is a Monday evening, and I'm finishing up Chapter 3 of the book King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. We're discovering the archetypes of the mature masculine by Robert Moore and Doug Gillette. Here's the book. Get the book yourself. I encourage you to get the book. But here we go. We're reading Chapter 3. We've been reading Chapter 3 so far. And now we're reading the subheading. We're gonna read as far as we can within our time frame. The next subheading on page 23 is the High Chair Tyrant. Here we go. The High Chair Tyrant, page 23. The High Chair Tyrant is epitomized by the image of little Lord Fauntleroy sitting in his high chair, banging his spoon on the tray, and screaming for his mother to feed him, kiss him, and attend him. Like a dark version of the Christ child, he is the center of the universe. Others exist to meet his all-powerful needs and desires, but when the food comes, it often does not meet his specifications. It's not good enough. It's not the right kind. It's too hot or too cold, too sweet or too sour. So he spits it on the floor or throws it across the room. If he becomes sufficiently self-righteous, no food, no matter how hungry he is, will be adequate. And if his mother picks him up after, quote-unquote, failing him so completely, he will scream and twist and reject her advances because they were not offered at exactly the right moment. The High Chair Tyrant hurts himself with his grandiosity, the limitlessness of his demands, because he rejects the very things that he needs for life, food and love. Characteristics of the High Chair Tyrant include arrogance, what Greeks called hubris or overweening pride, childishness in the negative sense, and irresponsibility, even to himself as a mortal infant who has to meet his biological and psychological needs. All of this is what psychologists call inflation or pathological narcissism. The High Chair Tyrant needs to learn that he is not the center of the universe and that the universe does not exist to fulfill his every need. Or, better put, his limitless needs, his pretensions to godhood. It will nurture him, but not in his form as God. Page 24. Moving on. The High Chair Tyrant, through the Shadow King, may continue to be a ruling archetypical influence in adulthood. We all know the story of the promising leader, the CEO or the presidential candidate, who starts to rise to great prominence and then shoots himself in the foot. He sabotages his success and crashes to earth. The ancient Greeks said that hubris is always followed by nemesis. The gods always bring down those mortals who get too arrogant, demanding, or inflated. Icarus, for instance, made wings or feathers and wax in order to fly like the birds, read quote-unquote gods. And then in his inflation, and against his father's warning, flew too close to the sun. The sun melted the wax, the wings disintegrated, and he plummeted into the sea. We are familiar with the saying, quote-unquote, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. King Louis XVI of France lost his head because of his arrogance. Often, as we men rise in the corporate structure, as we gain more and more authority and power, the risk of self-destruction also rises. The boss who wants only yes men, who doesn't want to know what's going on, the president who doesn't want to hear his general's advice, the school principal who can't tolerate criticism from his teachers. And all are men possessed by the high chair tyrant, riding for a fall. The high chair tyrant who attacks his human host is the perfectionist. He expects the impossible of himself and berates himself, just as his mother did, when he can't meet the demands of the infant within. The tyrant pressures a man for more and better performance and is never satisfied with what he produces. The unfortunate man becomes the slave, as the mother was, of the grandiose 2-year-old inside of him. He has to have more material things. He can't make mistakes. And because he can't possibly meet the demands of the inner tyrant, he develops ulcers and gets sick. He can't, in the end, stand up to the unrelenting pressure. We men often deal with the tyrant by having a heart attack. We go on strike against him. Finally, the only way to escape the little lord is to die. When the high chair tyrant cannot be brought under control, he will manifest in a Stalin, Caligula, or Hitler, all malignant sociopaths. We will become the CEO, who would rather see the company fail than deal with our own grandiosity, our own identification with the, page 25, with the demanding quote-unquote God within. We can be little Hitlers, but we're going to destroy our country in the process. It has been said that the divine child wants just to be and to have all things flow toward him. He does not want to do. He does not want to do. He does not want to do, pardon me. The artist wants to be admired without having to lift a finger. The CEO wants to sit in his office, enjoying his leather chairs, his cigars, and his attractive secretaries, drawing his high salary and enjoying his perks. But he does not want to do anything for the company. He imagines himself invulnerable and all-important. He often demeans and degrades others who are trying to accomplish something. He is in his high chair, and he is setting himself up to get the axe. Weakling Prince, page 25.